Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes Carlyle, CVC, KKR said to be among buyout firms eyeing Samsonite. Hydrogen startup H2 to build Hong Kong base as launch pad into overseas markets. Gang proposes plan to help China real estate developers access $139 billion. China's export growth jumps in positive sign for demand. Hong Kong stocks hit by geopolitics as U.S. bill targets China's biotech firms. Carlyle, CVC, KKR said to be among buyout firms eyeing Samsonite. Bloomberg. Global buyout firms, including Carlyle Group, KKR, Bain Capital, CVC Capital Partners, and DCP Capital Partners, have shown preliminary interest in a potential takeover of luggage maker Samsonite International. The private equity funds may consider forming a consortium if Samsonite decides to go private. However, the fragmented ownership structure of Samsonite may create some hurdles for any deal. Talks are still in the preliminary stages, and the parties may decide against pursuing a deal. Hydrogen startup H2 to build Hong Kong base as launch pad into overseas markets. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong-based green energy startup H2 Solution plans to set up operations in the city's Science and Technology Park. The company, which makes hydrogen fuel cell systems, has held talks with Hong Kong Science and Technology Park Corp to participate in its incubation program and become a tenant at its facilities in Pak Shek Kok. H2 Solution is aiming to raise at least 50 million Hong Kong dollars, $6.4 million, in its first round of financing from strategic and private investors in the middle of this year. Gang proposes plan to help China real estate developers access $139 billion. Bloomberg. China's former central bank governor, Gang, has proposed a new system for Chinese real estate developers to use presale funds, which could help the country's struggling property market. Under the proposed system, developers would be able to withdraw 1 trillion Chinese yuan, $139 billion, immediately if the central government or the People's Bank of China insured presale proceeds. He said the insured funds would account for about 1% of the country's presale regulatory fund balance, and developers would be allowed to use a proportion of the funds in a lawful and compliant manner. China's export growth jumps in positive sign for demand. Bloomberg. China's exports grew by 7.1% in the first 2 months of 2024, surpassing economists' expectations of 1.9% growth. This is seen as an encouraging sign for the country's economy, which has been under pressure due to weak demand and geopolitical tensions. However, Commerce Minister Wang Wintao warned that the outlook for trade remains very grim due to declining demand overseas. China is targeting economic growth of around 5% this year, but economists suggest more policy support is needed to achieve this goal. Hong Kong stocks hit by geopolitics as U.S. bill targets China's biotech firms. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong stocks, including Wuxi Biologics and Wuxi AppTec, slipped as geopolitical concerns rose following the U.S. Senate committee's approval of a bill targeting Chinese biotech companies. The bill prohibits contracting with certain biotechnology providers connected to foreign adversaries. Both Wuxi Biologics and Wuxi AppTec have fallen nearly 40% this year. Meanwhile, JD.com jumped 8.2% after the e-commerce giant's revenues beat estimates, and it announced a $3 billion buyback plan. The Hang Seng Index lost 0.2% to 16,410.89. Biden, Trump woo Haley voters, 2024 U.S. elections new prize. South China Morning Post. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are both trying to win over the supporters of Nikki Haley, a group that could play a crucial role in the U.S. presidential election. Haley withdrew from the Republican nomination contest on Wednesday but did not endorse Trump, saying it was up to him to earn the support of voters who did not initially back him. Almost 570,000 voters in 3 key battleground states voted for Haley in the Republican primaries, making them a potentially significant group in the general election. Chinese foreign minister says those who play with fire on Taiwan will get burned. South China Morning Post. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is set to hold a press conference during the annual meeting of the National People's Congress. Wang's appointment as foreign minister in July came after the sudden removal of his predecessor, Qin Gang, and his press conference is expected to attract considerable international media attention. Wang is likely to face questions on a range of issues, including Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the South China Sea. Wuxi app tech drops as U.S. Senate panel advances bill banning deals. Bloomberg. Chinese biotech firm Wuxi AppTech Company has seen its stock price drop by as much as 21% after a U.S. Senate committee advanced a bill that could ban Chinese biotech firms from federal contracts. The bill, part of the Biosecure Act, was introduced in January by a bipartisan group of House and Senate lawmakers who argue that these firms are controlled by the Communist Party and pose a national security risk. The bill must still pass both chambers of Congress and be signed by the President to become law. Time for Hong Kong logistics to shine amid supply chain woes. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong should capitalize on recent disruptions to global trade routes caused by attacks in the Red Sea by promoting its shipping registry as an attractive option for vessels looking to sail under a neutral flag, according to Neville Lai, an independent international affairs strategist. Hong Kong is the world's fifth largest shipowning market and its shipping registry is regarded as a high-quality flag administration. The city should work to link up its maritime sector with its air cargo industry and develop a distinct Hong Kong logistics brand to boost its position as a global facilitator of trade. Beijing considering raising Hong Kong's duty-free allowance for mainlanders. South China Morning Post. China is reportedly considering raising the duty-free shopping allowance for mainland Chinese tourists visiting Hong Kong. The proposal, which would increase the allowance from 5,000 Chinese yuan $694 to 30,000 Chinese yuan $4,162 per person, has gained the support of the majority of Hong Kong representatives attending the country's annual political gathering. The move comes as Hong Kong struggles with a decline in visitor numbers from mainland China due to the ongoing pro-democracy protests. Hong Kong finance firms eager to tap rich clients in cash for residency scheme. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong's leading banks, including HSBC, Bank of China, Hong Kong, Manulife and Everbright Securities International, are being inundated with inquiries related to the revived Capital Investment Entrant Scheme, CIES, which allows wealthy individuals and their families to gain fast-track residency for investments of at least 30 million Hong Kong dollars, $3.8 million, in Hong Kong-listed stocks, bonds, deposits, funds, investment-linked insurance policies or non-residential properties. The revamped scheme excludes residential real estate and the previous scheme attracted about 4,000 applicants a year. The current scheme's threshold of 30 million Hong Kong dollars is triple that of the previous one, suggesting the city could see 120 billion Hong Kong dollars of inflows a year. Hong Kong triathletes more motivated than ever ahead of World Cup event. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong triathletes Bailey Brown and Jasoning Tai Long are gearing up to race in front of a home crowd at the World Triathlon Cup this month. The pair are hoping the support of the crowd will help them improve on their second and third places at the Asia Triathlon Cup in Hong Kong last November. The race is crucial for Olympic qualification points and a spot on the podium. Brown and Eng's direct rivals for an Olympic spot, Kazakhstan's Ekaterina Shabalina and Ayan Bizenbaev, will also be competing in the race. HKMA asks banks to exercise caution when lending for confirmer sales. South China Morning Post. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority, HKMA, has emailed banks to take extra care when lending to property speculators, in an attempt to clamp down on asset flipping a week after the city abandoned decade-old curbs for the real estate industry. Confirmer transactions usually involve speculators looking for short-term capital gains. A few such transactions have been noticed since the removal of the curbs by the Hong Kong government last week. Chinese investment in Asia rose 37% in 2023, led by Indonesia. Nikkei Asia. Chinese investment in the Asia-Pacific region rose by 37% in 2023, according to a report by Brisbane's Griffith University and Shanghai's Fudan University. Chinese investment in non-BRI countries dropped to an all-time low of $120 million, down 90% from 2022, with BRI participants accounting for 92% of construction contracts. Investment in Southeast Asia rose by 27%, with Indonesia, the largest recipient, taking in around $7.3 billion. The report predicts a recovery in Chinese investment and construction in the region in 2024, due to increased urgency in the green energy transition and softening domestic demand. Open house, cheapest Hong Kong luxury housing comes with a major catch. Bloomberg. Sea Ranch, a failed 1970s luxury resort on Lantau Island in Hong Kong, is hoping to attract buyers with distressed pricing. The development, built by Hutchison Whampoa, was initially a success and boasted the city's largest private swimming pool, a clubhouse with restaurants and a bar, tennis courts, and its own beach. However, the project soon hit difficulties, leading to financial problems, disputes between owners, and eventual bankruptcy. The resort has since been abandoned and is now a ghost town. Apartments are available for 5.3 million Hong Kong dollars, $677,500, less than half the price of a similar property in Discovery Bay. The development has no transport links to Hong Kong Island, no shops, and no medical facilities, but some residents appreciate its tranquility. That's all the news we have for today, folks. Let's quickly recap what we've learned. Global buyout firms, including Carlyle Group, KKR, and Bain Capital, are interested in potentially taking over luggage maker Samsonite International. Talks are still in the early stages, but it will be interesting to see how this develops. Hong Kong-based green energy startup H2 Solution plans to set up operations in the city's science and technology park. This move could help the company expand into overseas markets. China's former central bank governor, Yi Gang, has proposed a plan to help real estate developers access $139 billion in presale funds. This could provide a boost to the struggling property market. China's export growth has exceeded expectations, growing by 7.1% in the first 2 months of the year. While this is a positive sign, Commerce Minister Wang Wintao has warned that the outlook for trade remains grim due to declining overseas demand. Hong Kong stocks, particularly biotech firms, have been hit by geopolitical concerns following the approval of a bill targeting Chinese biotech companies by the U.S. Senate Committee. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are both vying for the support of supporters of Nikki Haley, a group that could play a crucial role in the upcoming U.S. presidential election. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is set to hold a press conference during the annual meeting of the National People's Congress, where he is likely to face questions on a range of issues, including Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the South China Sea. Chinese biotech firm Wuxi AppTech Company has seen its stock price drop after a bill that could ban Chinese biotech firms from federal contracts advanced in the U.S. Senate Committee. Hong Kong should take advantage of disruptions to global trade routes by promoting its shipping registry and developing a distinct Hong Kong logistics brand to boost its position as a global facilitator of trade. China is considering raising the duty-free shopping allowance for mainland Chinese tourists visiting Hong Kong, which could help boost the city's struggling retail sector. Hong Kong's leading banks are being inundated with inquiries related to the revived Capital Investment Entrance Scheme, which allows wealthy individuals and their families to gain fast-track residency for investments in Hong Kong. Hong Kong triathletes Bailey Brown and Jason Ng Tai Long are hoping to perform well at the World Triathlon Cup in front of a home crowd, as they aim to secure Olympic qualification points. the Hong Kong Monetary Authority has urged banks to exercise caution when lending to property speculators, as part of its efforts to clamp down on asset flipping. Chinese investment in the Asia-Pacific region rose by 37% in 2023, with Indonesia being the largest recipient. The report predicts a recovery in Chinese investment and construction in the region in 2024. Sea Ranch, a failed luxury resort on Lantau Island in Hong Kong, is offering distressed pricing in an attempt to attract buyers. While the development has its challenges, some residents appreciate its tranquility. Phew! That was quite a lot of news to cover. It's always interesting to see the latest developments in the world of finance, technology, and geopolitics. As always, I encourage you to share your thoughts and opinions on these topics. What do you think about the potential takeover of Samsonite? Or the proposed plan to help Chinese real estate developers? Let's keep the discussion going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.